It is the ultimate cheat code when it comes to gastronomic flavor. Mushroom cream sauce combines some of my absolute favorite tastes into one delicious topping. For this recipe, we'll be using mushrooms, garlic, heavy cream, cooking wine, butter, thyme, and salt. Is this the healthiest thing? Probably not. Is it tasty? Absolutely. To start off, we'll give our mushrooms a nice rinse, taking time to ensure that any silt stuck on is washed off. I like to put my rinsed mushrooms into a paper towel lined bowl so that any excess water is absorbed and the mushrooms on the bottom don't sit in a puddle of water. Once all the mushrooms are rinsed off, we'll move on over to the cutting board. The bottoms of the mushroom stems are often dry and woody, so I like to cut these ends off. Not the whole mushroom stem, but just the tip. If you look closely, you may notice that the mushroom cap is actually rounded, which results in a statically unstable shroom. To provide a stable cutting surface, I like to cut my mushroom in half. Look at that, no weeble wobble. Once we're done with the mushrooms, it's on to the garlic. From a bulb of garlic, I'll break off about 5 or 6 cloves. I start peeling my garlic by cutting off the root ends. I'll then place each clove under the flat of my knife and give the knife a nice little palm smack. This crushing helps separate the skin from the garlic. From there, the skin should come off relatively easily. Note the emphasis on relatively. I still struggle with this a little bit. I like mincing my garlic by first making lengthwise incisions and then cutting perpendicularly to those. Once we've gotten the garlic cut up roughly, we can pile everything up and make several more passes over with the knife. This will mince our already small garlic chunks into even smaller bits. Now for the thyme. I have some English thyme growing outside in my small little herb garden, but feel free to use store-bought or dried variations if that's what you have access to. Oh, how the thyme flies. To remove the leaves from the thyme sprig, hold the top with one hand. With the other hand, pinch the stem and slide your fingers down to the base. The leaves should fall right off as your fingers pass over them. For any remaining leaves, you can just pick them off individually. I found this process to be easier with store-bought thyme that's a bit more dried out, but the method works for fresh thyme as well. Once the sprigs are de-leaved, I'll take a couple passes over with the knife to cut everything down into small pieces. I'll put all my vegetable scraps in a Ziploc bag, freeze them, and use them later to make vegetable stock. Now that we have our mushrooms sliced, our garlic minced, and our thyme prepared, it's time that we move on over to the stove. Over medium-low heat, we'll toss in a solid chunk of butter into a pan and let it melt. Once our butter is nice and melted, it's time to toss in the shrooms. We'll let these cook for a couple minutes and then add in the garlic and thyme. Now we'll just let this cook for a little bit longer until the mushrooms have lost a good amount of moisture and reduced in size. This generally takes 5 to 10 minutes. I like my mushrooms really reduced and meaty, so I tend to operate on the longer time frame. Next, I'll add in a splash of cooking wine and let that cook off for a few minutes. Afterwards, it's on to the cream. So, this is where I learned a valuable lesson. Not for cooking, but for filming. I need to always make sure I have ample space on my memory card before filming a shot. Because I neglected to do this, my recording cut off right here as I poured the cream into the pan. In the absence of the actual footage, you can pretend I'm adding the cream in here. Wow, look at it go. Still on medium-low heat, we'll let our sauce simmer, reduce, and thicken. This will probably take another 5 to 10 minutes. Be cautious with longer times though. I've let my simmer go on too long and ended up breaking my sauce. What that means is that the fats, i.e. the cream and the butter, separate from the rest of the sauce. It's not the end of the world, but it's certainly not ideal. Once the sauce is nice, reduced, and thick, we'll add in the salt. Give everything a taste and season to your liking. I like to make my sauce here a little extra salty since everything will be dispersed once put on the pasta. And with that, our sauce is complete. I'm topping some fresh homemade pasta, see how it's made right here, with our delicious mushroom cream sauce. And boy, does that look good. And I'm adding the rest because I'm a hungry boy. There we go. That's better. Now, onto the official taste test. I'll pretend my left hand isn't holding a bowl and give this a solid, well-deserved 2 thumbs up.